So, I've got something to take care of here. There's about 5 or 6 people in this room that know what's going on. So, just give me 1 minute. I've got a mystery presentation that has been across several thousand miles. Great amount of planning, great amount of logistics that went into this. And I'll get into all the details of it in just a moment. But I promise that you're worth your wait. And as we kind of close out here for the summit, I think you'll be very happy with it. So, first and foremost, before anything else, absolutely awesome summit. And I hope you really enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. I opened up by saying this is one of the very few events I absolutely refuse to miss every year. And certainly have no regrets whatsoever about spending the time here this week. And the organization that puts this together is more than just the people you see up here. You've got people in the back keeping the AV running. You've got people who are making sure that this event is going to be on YouTube, is going to be on our YouTube channel after the fact. That you're going to have great comms here. Josh Johnson, who makes sure that our comms work, is somebody behind the scenes. You don't necessarily see them. So please, when you see them on the way out, high-five them, tell them thank you, because they busted their asses making this the great event it was for the past 2 days. And one of the reasons that I like this event is it reminds me a lot of family, because we have some of these events that I see people coming back to year after year, excuse me. And I love to see that, seeing people weeks and months beforehand kind of getting excited about it and saying, I can't wait for this talk, I can't wait to see somebody again. Somebody who maybe can't make it because of work contributions, seeing everybody say, oh, I'm going to miss it and I'm crushed about it. And you know what, as much as we are upset that they can't make it, it's cool to see that they want to. And certainly that is, I think, a really big thing. But this is the kind of thing that I like to see on Facebook and Twitter and everybody posting these pictures. It reminded me of a family reunion. And as with a lot of family-like organizations, there's going to be somebody who is seen as kind of the focal point of the organization, the matriarch, the patriarch, somebody who's kind of the one that everybody wants to make sure that they come, they see, they hang out with. And of course, in our case, I'm pretty sure we know that that's going to be Rob Lee. And as we know, I like to get my revenge, but I get revenge in very interesting and fun ways. So, this is the 10th year of the summit. That's a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. And, you know, I want you to realize that even though that's 10 years old, that's just a little bit more than half of the time that DFIR has existed here at SANS in some way, shape, or form. And it wasn't that long ago that the entirety of what is now SANS DFIR was Rob. And way back in the day, 17 years ago, DFIR started. Does anybody remember what it was called when we began? Track 8, yes, 17 imaginary points to help Pomerantz. I did research on Track 8, and I really wanted to come up with a cover of the book for it. I couldn't, but the only thing I could find was actually this, which is still live on the SANS website, which we're going to have to take a look at. But it was the pre-course questionnaire for getting into Track 6 and Track 8. And you'll see that it was called System Forensics, Investigation, and Response. And that was it. That was the investigative class. And Rob was writing that, again, 17 years ago. But the reason that this was revolutionary is because it brought what was one of the very first classes to light that focused on methodologies. It was not what was typically seen in the tool-based training where we had someone who, you know, was teaching their tool, which can be very capable, of course, but they're saying, here's the workflow we've created and here's the tool we've built to address that workflow. No, Track 8 was different. Track 8 said, here's how to think. You're going to see challenges you've never seen before. We're going to teach you how to think. And that was very, very different, which I'm so glad to see finally, you know, taking hold in great strides across the organization and across the community as a whole. One of the things Rob also brought to that was absolute, pure, unadulterated enthusiasm. So for that, I'm going to have to ask you to come up here, Rob. Come on. Thanks, Gary. Because Rob's enthusiasm is something that was baked into every single slide. You know, you can buy your whole seat here this week taking a class from Rob, but you're only going to need the edge because he will be this all over the place and it's going to be awesome. And one of the things that he really kind of shies away from is the spotlight, ironically, although we have 6 of them here on us. So I'm very happy to share this with you and try and do my absolute best to embarrass you in the best possible way, because we've got something cooking up for you right here. There's a ripple effect beyond this, though, because what Rob's actually built is not just a curriculum. He's actually built a team that espouses that same kind of enthusiasm, that same kind of fervor that he has. And when I was getting this ready, I asked other instructors for some comments, and I asked them 2 questions, very broad, very open-ended questions. We're just getting started. There's no chair here because I didn't want you to relax. So I asked them 2 questions. I said, number 1, tell me what Rob was in terms of your career progression, in terms of your being where you are right now. But more importantly, the one that I was most interested in is, tell me what you've seen Rob do for the community as a whole. And those 2 things gave me this incredibly cool view into that which is DFIR as we know it today. And I'm going to read these verbatim because I think the words are very powerful and I don't want to overlook or misstate anything. First of all, Sarah Edwards had said, Rob encouraged me to write and teach a full course when I was scared to death to speak in front of people. And now obviously you see Sarah's out and about in front of everybody like there's no problem with that. She said that although I kept saying I wasn't going to teach, he kept saying, yes, you will. And certainly you see that now that's a second thought. And this is not advancing again, so we'll have to figure that one out. Second one though, Heather Mahalik said, Rob not only makes you recognize your rock star capabilities, he makes you use them. It's not enough to know things. How does it matter? How does it take hold in your casework? How does it take hold in your daily lives? That's something that's very important too, because you can be great at what you do, and unless you're using it and exercising that muscle, sometimes not necessarily the best use there. Hal Pomerantz says, Rob got me my first professional forensics gig, and many others in the industry could say the same. I'm in that same boat, absolutely. And he said, through him, I've also met countless people who have helped advance my career. That network building, that family building. You need to talk to this other person because seeing those connections before they're put together, that's something that is absolutely critical. Eric Zimmerman, congratulations, Eric. Rob has helped me tune and tweak my forensic tools to be more user-friendly and consistent. Our tools are only as good as the information they provide us. I like to say in class, the human beings made of meat are the ones that bring meaning to whatever the tools say. So the tool can say great information, and unless it's easy for us human beings to consume, it's going to be a little difficult for us to come up with those good findings. And then lastly, Robert Lee, the other one. Yes, we like Rob so much around here, we actually manufactured a second one, said, and I quote, Rob is the godfather of modern digital forensics, and having the same name as him made me proud. Now, we contemplated actually making other Rob change his name, and he said, no, I'm younger, I can hold my own, and then we just decided we're going to call him Bearded Rob, and then we got Bald Rob. So that's the distinction that we have between them. But it's more than just what we individually have learned from him. Going back to tool creation, going back to contributions to the community, Rob wrote MacDaddy. You remember MacDaddy? Yeah. Now, MacDaddy was a tool that kind of gave birth to a lot of the functionality that we have in the sleuth kit, and certainly kind of birthed the concept of timelining as we see it today. How fundamental is super timelining to our forensic analysis? It's pretty critical, and that kind of stemmed from that one, I have a need to do this one function, I'm going to build a tool, and certainly that became a common thing that we now use every single day. The SIFT workstation. Is there anybody in here who doesn't have at least one copy of SIFT workstation ready to boot in VMware right now? Okay, Rob, we're going to talk later. We're going to fix that back there, because that's an unacceptable answer. That's a platform that, of course, we can use to do incredibly good forensic analysis for free. Bringing great, knowledgeable people like yourselves to this kind of trough of tools and knowledge and capabilities is something that wouldn't be possible if we all had to shell out to even enter the field to get these utilities. Now, there's a lot of other things too, but let's go beyond tools. Every single one of you is out there every day dealing with the most complex, the most challenging, the most important tasks, in some cases that the nation, and I'm not being facetious here, that the world has to offer. You're up against nation-state adversaries. You're up against some of the most vile, terrible criminals that need to be put away for life times 10. The fact that you're doing that work, that we're coming up with good findings, and the methodologies that we have, how are we getting to those defensible, solid methodologies is absolutely critical. Let's face it, in the couple of minutes that we've got here, I could never sum up the contributions that you've made, but Chad came pretty close. Chad said, and again, I quote, "Rob is the Richard Branson of digital forensics." Yes. Very, very well stated, Chad. So, you know, this is all good and well, but a lot of you may not have the opportunity to get a chance to know Rob like a lot of the other of us do. So I wanted to kind of give a little bit of a perspective. I've had the good fortune to be a friend and colleague of Rob's for almost 20 years now. You know, being able to see him meet his very, very patient and tolerable wife, Melissa, and their kids, 5-year-old twins of all things, Connor and Eliana. Rob is like this quintessential dad. And I don't know if you know this. I'm getting teary. I told you we were going to need tissues. But Rob's like this paramount of dadship because, you know, you see what he does with the kids. He dresses up in group costumes on Halloween. That's pretty amazing to be able to do that. And the enthusiasm he brings to that is fantastic as well. You know, he makes time almost every single day that he's in class. He's running back at some point, no matter what time zone he's in, to FaceTime back with the kids or coming up with new toys that he can use to communicate with them via voice and recording stuff back and forth. And like, that's freaking awesome. I told you I knew you were going to need tissues. You thought I was joking. And then Rob crafted for years, I don't even want to know what the timeline for this looks like, but crafted for years how he was going to expose his kids to Star Wars. Oh, God. Now, Rob, I think you disowned your neighbor because they accidentally spilled the beans that, you know, Darth was Luke's father, and you were distraught for weeks over this, and I mean like absolutely distraught. But you know what, I think there's more to it because, wait a minute, you've got twin kids, a boy and a girl. There's kind of a little Luke and Leia thing going on there. But wait, that would make you... Oh. And knowing what you're capable of, I'm not sure I want you on the dark side. So I'm a little worried there. Now, this is a little bit of a different thing that I noticed. I was looking for pictures to put this thing together. So in my Photos application, I just typed in the word Vader, and look who pops up. I didn't even make that up. That absolutely happened. So that brings me to what Rob likes about this whole Star Wars thing. Rob is, without a doubt, the single person that I know personally who is the biggest Star Wars fan ever. Whether we're talking about learning that Sarah Edwards had never seen the movies, and before he could pick his jaw up off the ground, he had Amazon Primed the Blu-rays to her house overnight. You will watch these are homework, don't come back to class until you're done. Or whether it's in the middle of a class and Rogue One comes out and Rob says, midnight showing, we're going. And Rob comes back the next morning more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed than ever, which is really saying a lot. You know that I'm talking about this. That is absolutely the kind of enthusiasm that we have here. You know, in fact, I'm kind of wondering why we went down this naming path, because you know the SIFT utility, why is it not the SANS Investigative and Threat Hunting Toolkit? Because then it can be the Sith workstation. We can make this happen, okay? Next version, right? Well, let me tie this all together, because it's the 10th anniversary that we've got here, and what we kind of decided to do, we wanted to recognize the contributions you've made to the community. We wanted to recognize just the great influence you've had among thousands of people, and we thought, what better time to do this at the 10th anniversary? Now, this is not one of those lifetime achievement awards you get at the you know, Emmys and Grammys and stuff like that, because we got a whole lot more years of needing your guidance and help throughout this, for sure. But we wanted to come up with something that we thought recognized how much we value working with you as the years go on. So,
a Death Star?
We did not buy you a Death Star. That's for 20 years. Don't you know the normal gifts that you make? So, knowing that Rob's favorite character is Darth Vader, let me ask you a question. Who played Darth Vader? Ooh, James Earl Jones. Very good guess, but not the correct answer, because James Earl Jones was the voice.
David Krause.
Well, hold on. Hang on. Give me a minute here. But James Earl Jones is very much a part of the Vader character. But, as you said, Dave Krause is the person who is actually in the costume. And the mannerisms, the gait, the clench of the fist, that is just as much a part of the character, even though you never in any of the movies see Dave Krause's face. Even the part when they took the mask off, it was a different actor. But that is somebody who is just as much a part of Vader, even though you don't necessarily see them, firsthand. He is absolutely a part of it. So, I've got this plaque up here, and I know you can't all see it from back there, but the plaque says, presented to Rob Lee, the most lethal Forensicator. We do know the power of the deeper side of the Force. But give me a minute right here, because blank plaques are a little bit boring. So we had to come up with something appropriate to put on this. And I did quite a bit of research, and through a number of inspired recommendations from a few of the other folks on the advisory board, we came up with something that I think you're absolutely going to appreciate here. Not only did we decide that a Darth Vader helmet would be appropriate, we also decided that we were going to get this signed by Dave Krause. So, this is something that you can hopefully display proudly, and it's something that I'm really excited to give to you. Certificate of authenticity, the whole 9 yards. Rob, thank you for everything that you do and continue to do. We're absolutely stoked to have a chance to participate in this thing that you built, and just be a part of this whole thing. So with that, now I'm going to make you talk.
Wow, I'm truly touched and speechless. Thank you everyone. Every single year I come here, this is the most exciting event. I like the fact that it's small. I like the groups that come here. Every time I teach people, it makes the world a difference to see how they progress in their career, where they've gone. As someone has, seen people move from countries and get recruited by Google and are on their incident response team, because they've attended our classes and get inspired to write tools, and it means the world to me. Is Dave Hull in here, by the way? Is Dave still around? I was going to show you, just like, I almost guarantee about 7 years ago, I think Phil pointed out to me that the ringtone on Dave's phone when I called it was my laugh that he pulled down from the MP3s. So when I call the phone, you just hear this ha 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 on his phone. And I'm still kind of like nervous to the fact that someone actually thought that was a good idea, but I love this job. I love the people I work with, and I love the community most of all. Thank you everyone for doing this, and Phil and the team. We're nothing without you guys. It's about the team in the end. I appreciate so much of what you just did. It means the world to me. Thank you. Can we
close out? Yeah. Well, hey, closing out the summit, is something that's always bittersweet to do, but let's face it, if we don't close out the 10th, we can't get started on the 11th. I'm sorry, Jennifer, but we're already thinking about it. So suffice to say, I hope you've had a fantastic couple of days here. You know, I've enjoyed it, as I said, and we look forward to joining the class if you're here for the week, or hanging out tonight and coming back next year if you're just here for the summit. Regardless, thanks very much, sir.
10 years. It's amazing. We started back in Las Vegas for a couple of years, and we moved to DC. We found our home in Austin, and even though it's pretty much the temperature of mercury outside.
Tatooine.
Oh, it's the temperature of Tatooine. Well done. It is the temperature of Tatooine outside. Every year that we come here, no one really cares about the temperature when you're walking outside with your friends and your peers. Every single place that you go, almost every single bar on 6th Street on both nights you could walk into and you see family. So looking forward to it next year and for 10 more years after this point. So thank you all for coming.